Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge of the Brawler Cafe. We are now in week 3. At the end of this week is the official release date. Well, at the beginning of next week actually. But regardless, at the end of the month, which this is the last week of, will be the official release date of Age of Aurelus. So this week we are covering the last 2 factions from Age of Aurelus. And these are the factions that have the highest quantity of worthwhile to talk about cards, even though some of them aren't exactly good right now, but have a bunch of future potential that is good to keep in mind. So, let's get into that. First up, we have Lava Spray. Lava Spray is 1 cost, plus 2 damage, and if you have an Aurelus, it's plus 4 damage instead. So Pyrus' thing for Aurelus power is they just double the thing. Lava Spray, I don't think it really fits into any decks in particular right now that I can think of, any archetypes. However, I think it's worth noting for the same reason that I noted Thunderbolt when I was doing the Darkest Resurgence video. Fireball is a card that has seen play in aggro decks in the past, and thus Lava Spray, being a straight better version of it when used in a deck that has an Aurelus Bakugan, is worth noting for that reason. But in the context of Fury, it is hard outclassed by Fire Wing Blast. So this is a super rare, 1 energy, plus 1 damage. However, if you're in Fury, plus 15 damage. You're not losing that Might of Cindius, battle boy. Oh my god, it's just huge. Like, the biggest issue with damage boosting cards is the investment that you put into it, because every bit of an investment you put into damage boosters can be very easily lost by your opponent just flipping a flip. Like, they could just flip a stomp on the first damage. So investing your hard-earned cards in hand or energy into damage boosters beyond just being dead in a lot of circumstances is also just a poor investment because of that possibility. But Fire Wing Blast is 15 damage for 1 energy and 1 card. Like, like if you're gonna run a damage booster, like something like that is like, that's enough. Yeah, that's gonna be good enough. Oh my god, this card is honestly kind of absurd, but you know. Moving on. Next up, we have Wildfire. This is another Aurelus power card. So this is 3 energy, plus 400B, and if you have an Aurelus Bakugan on your team, it's plus 800B instead. So, plus 800B for 3 energy. This is above par, which is very new of a thing for Pyrus to get. This kind of deletes Stone Skin from its usage in Fury sacrifice type aggro builds, because this does the same thing, but you don't need to sacrifice for the plus 800. So it's like, yeah. Pretty solid. Not a card you would prioritize. If you have like Aquas or Chaos, you're unlikely to have the space to be like worth putting this in. But otherwise, like it's pretty solid. Inferno Cannon. So this is not a card that's any good right now, but it's very important to note because it could be very good in the future. So 4 energy. All players must discard the entire hand, then draw that many cards. This is not worth 4 energy. Oh, you can burn your opponent for like 5. Cool, I can do that by rolling Hyper Serpentine. No, Titan Serpentines? One of those two. Whatever the evolution title of God was. The Serpentine's Core, Pyrus. You can just do that by rolling that at once. Like, whatever. The hand refresh isn't worth the 4 cost when stuff like Sifting Ashes exists. And for this same cost, you could be like drawing 3 off of, say, Cute Apocalypse or something. So, like, it's not worth it for those factors. However, what does make it worthwhile is if we get good discard fodder in the future, then this card becomes, okay, activate all of my discard fodder that I have in hand, and then refill my hand. Like, that's really solid. In addition, the one big usage that I could have right now is if you're running a deck around Darkest Titan Mantanoid, there's actually a lot of tools in this set that help a deck revolving around that Bakugan a lot. Not enough that I'd call it competitive, but it helps its viability a lot. Like, we have this card, we have, if you want to go double Darkest Vice Rocks is very helpful. Then we've got the next card we'll be talking about in just a moment. Is there anything else? I feel like there's one other card. Oh, and we've got Tuskguard Inventus. Those cards all help that out a lot. So, you know, Inferno Cannon, card to keep in mind for the future, but right now you'd really only use it in Darkest Titan Mantanoid decks if you wanted to build that. And the other card I was mentioning in regards to Darkest Titan Mantanoid is Hypno Flash. So this is 5 cost, plus 700B. and then it has a Sifting Ashes effect. You can draw 2 cards, then discard 2. If you're on Darkest Titan Mantinoid Ultra, this is about plus 1500 B for 5 energy. That's pretty solid. That's pretty good. And that's a deck that you'd absolutely be running Tuskguard in, probably, unless you went double Darkest 4 or 5 rocks. But you'd probably run Ventus in there for Tuskguard, because that makes the turn that you're putting down Mantinoid a lot more dealable with. And since this is another way to activate it, and it synergizes with Titan Mantinoid, then that makes it pretty solid overall. That's it for actions. For flips, we just have the Stop Aurelus one. Theirs is deal 4 Pyrus damage. These deal damage flips are pretty spooky, but in most cases, this is going to be worse than Aquos or Darkus's, and for specialized decks, the Ventus and Chaos ones are preferred. So like, this is one you'd really only go for in a very, very special case. Like if you were building a deck completely around burn damage and want a bunch of burn damage flips, something like that. Like that's all I can really think of where you'd actually put this in. Next, we have Bakugan, because there are no worthwhile heroes in Pyrus in this set. Okay? Okay. So first up, we have Pyrus Vice Rocks. I mentioned this boy during the Resurgence character card overview. So he comes with a Fist and a Helix. Helix is a good B power boosting, of course, so that's nice to see. It's 205 base. However, if you're in Fury, he gets plus 800 B. He becomes 1005. On a Helix, that's 1504. Darkest Vice Rocks has done a lot to make this a lot easier to activate. I honestly prefer this over Pepper Serpentine Ultra because it has a base form that actually gets that big Fury benefit as well. It gets up to a big B power on its own. Like on a Helix, in Fury, this is beating Aurelus Hydronoid Ultra. And that is something worth noting. Now with Evolution, it's not a huge buff over that. It's only getting a total of plus 300 extra B power. It is getting 4 extra damage. So in that department, it's good. But it is only 2 costs, so plus 300 B. Only plus 300 B is bearable. I just like this Bakugan a lot. I like him. I like crabs. So it's pretty solid. I like it. One of the power creep boys! Nobilius Ultra. Magic Shield Flaming Fist, 502. So solid stat line right off the start. So on a Magic Shield, this is going to be a big old 1350. Pretty big boy. Pretty big boy. His evolution isn't so great, and honestly, that's for the best. Like, I'm actually really happy that both this and Cabo got pretty mediocre evos. So, it doesn't evolve until turn 5. It goes up to 1006 and getting plus 500 B on the Magic Shield or Flaming Fist. So overall, you are gaining 800 B for 5 energy, which is not that great. Like, you have to wait a long time to get there. In addition to the damage rating doesn't get super high. The B power buff is not really up to par for 5 energy, and it's a 5 energy Evo. And when we're talking 5 energy Evos, we're usually talking things like Titan Dragonoid or Titan Trox Ultra, not a plus 800 B buff. So this is the type of Evo that I just only put in if you have the extra space for it. Don't prioritize it. The base form is really good enough on its own. However, worth noting, since it is 5 energy, if you're running a deck that is already running Tuskguard for other reasons, then this Evo works nicely with that. So that is nice to note. Next up, Pyrus Hydronoid Ultra. Hydronoids have such a good track record, man. So, Shield Fist for its cores, 601, and if you're in Fury, it gets plus 9 damage. That's pretty big. 10 damage. That's a lot. That's a lot. And its evolution is decently solid. 4 energy for a plus 600 B buff, which isn't too much, and then plus 5 damage when in Fury. I see that a lot of the people who had run Howlcore in the past, Pyrus Howlcore in the past, are switching to this because of this Evo and better base form. Some part of me goes, doesn't that kind of defeat the point, because Howlcore was like using magic shields? But you know, I think that route is like not the best to go to overall. But hey, if you want big damage, you get big damage, I guess. Next up, for Helixes, we have Pyrus Nilius Ultra. It comes with double Helix, 203, and when it's on a Helix core, it gets plus 200 B and plus double strike. So this doesn't get mega huge. A double strike is pretty notable. And if you can pick up 2 cores with this, That's pretty good. In general, just that double strike plus having decent B power is what makes this Bakugan really, really notable. Its evolution is pretty low cost at only 3 energy. It goes up to 600 B and plus 400. So we're looking at like 600 B gain. Still getting the double strike, gets a bit of an increase to its damage. So it's hitting decent numbers. The main draw factor for this Bakugan is the fact that it's getting that double strike naturally, and double strike can be quite threatening. Next up, we have Pyrivian Ultra. Pyrus has now received a good shield Bakugan. Much better than Syndius was. Double shield, 303, and it gets plus 300 B on a shield. And its evolution is only 1 cost. Its hyper evolution is 400 B, 4 damage, and gets plus 600 B on a shield. So it goes up to 1400 after the shield itself. Pretty solid overall. Like it quite a bit. I like this Bakugan. Nice to see Pyrus finally getting shield stuff. Nice overall. Low cost evos are just nice. And then lastly we have Kellyon Ultra. I'm mentioning this mainly because like Underdog is pretty good and its evo has some uses, but I do feel that it's kind of a gimmicky Bakugan. So Kellyon Ultra is 302 magic skill and shield, and then when it opens, if it has a lower B power, which it probably will, you can evolve into Diamond Kellyon Ultra for free. And Kellyon Ultra has 500 B and 15 damage. So obviously, the big problem here is that this is only hitting 1150 B post Magic Shield, which is what like a lot of base forms in Magic Shield decks are hitting. But of course, the big draw factor is you evolve for free, and post evolution you have 15 damage, which is quite potent with stuff like Might and Mac. That's the main draw factor to this. Not something I'd go for personally, but it has its uses for sure. And of the Kellyons, I'd honestly say that this is much better than Darkus. I see people hyping up Darkus Kellyon for use in Fist, and it's just, that ain't it, Chief. That's not a very good Fist Bakugan. But yeah, that's it. That's all. That's it for Darkus. Pyrus. I was just talking about Darkus Kellyon, and there's a lot of mention of Darkus here because of the obvious synergies between the discard stuff and discard fodders and yada. Give me good discard fodders, Spin Master, please. Gary Justin, hear my plea. Give me better discard fodder. I want to play Dark Worlds. Alright, that's all. That's it. Lots of content will be releasing this week, so look forward to that. Tons of match videos from the BR draft, probably 1 or 2 deck profiles. If you want to support the channel, use the TCG player affiliate link that's in the description. If you use that, we will get 3.5%, I believe, of purchases you make through TCG player. So if you want to support the channel, then go use that. And this is Hunter Surge signing off.